Hello and welcome back. This is part 3 of my solo level 1 defeat all bosses in honor mode series. And I'm going to kick this off with something that's probably going to make most people click off this video. Yes, that's right, I'm going to kill Karlach. If I hide just out of line of sight and hold down the control key, I can get a few attacks off before the battle starts. I'm not able to kill Karlach like this, but I do get her really low, so I just back off a little bit. And on her turn she's going to use a couple of potions and then move forward. Although I backed off a bit too far on my turn because I'm not able to get close enough without having to use click heals. Then on top of that, my attack also misses, and I don't have enough movement to get out of range of an attack from her. So on her turn, she's able to jump and then shoot her crossbow at us. But fortunately, the AI has a preference to just shoot as soon as they can with ranged weapons, which often means that they're at a disadvantage and she doesn't actually hit us. On my turn, I'm able to finish the battle with one final blow. And if you're still watching this video, this scene will probably most definitely make you turn it off. I'm then going to hand over her head to Anders, who gives me his greatsword. But I'm having second thoughts about letting him keep the head, so I use improvised melee weapon and I path him all the way out to this spot on the bridge here. With him knocked prone from my throw, I then tried to shove him off the bridge, and I'm able to succeed, which means he takes 23 bludgeoning damage from his fall. I then moved to the far end of the bridge before ending my turn. I did this because not only do I want to be far enough away from all of his allies, but I also want Anders to use a nearby hill to path up towards me so I can kill him first. To have to fight them all at once would be suicide, but if I'm able to divide and conquer, I should be able to come out on top. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that Sorrel was actually LeBron, and she's able to throw this potion at Anders from all the way downtown. I had disadvantage on my ranged attack, and I didn't want to get too close, so instead I just decided to throw a smoke powder bomb, and then backed off a little bit. Everyone would then dash towards me, and Anders isn't able to get close enough. Then on my turn, I'm able to finish him off, and after picking up Karlach's head, I check on the position of the other two. I want to put myself somewhere that makes them split up, as I don't want them to be running down the same spot, so I decided to place myself over to the left here. I also need to be careful not to run out of combat because they will disappear afterwards, and while Anders was my main goal in getting back Karlach's head, I also want to finish off his friends too, just for the hell of it. I wasn't confident that I could attack the mage without putting myself in range of their attacks on the next turn, so instead I opted to back off and hide out of line of sight. On my next turn, I'm able to click heals and then get in range of an attack on the mage. I also have enough movement left to use the terrain to my advantage and break line of sight again. And another reason I've been prioritizing the mage is because they're able to get closer to me every turn, since they don't have the dwarf's 7.5 meter racial speed. Since the mage was getting a bit too close, I opted to go for the hamstring shot just in case they didn't die, but Calderweek is able to finish them off. So then I'm able to just dip behind the terrain again to break line of sight and wait for the halfling to come closer. They position themselves close enough for us to attack, but unfortunately I miss. Though rangers are a lot easier to kite, and so I can just run up the hill and position myself up here, giving myself the high ground for the next shot. With my height advantage, I decide to toss down a smoke powder bomb, but for some reason it blows up 4 times, instantly killing the halfling. I mean, I'm not really going to complain, but it was rather weird. With the paladins and Karlach dead, I long rested at camp to get the Mizora cutscene. This will get me a shiny new armor, which I can sell to the traders for a pretty penny. After my long rests, between my headband of intellect, my astral knowledge intelligence, and guidance, I'm going to try and pass the check on this rock here. And I'm able to pass the nature check, which means we get 2 massive potions of speed. They're super rare on a level 1 run because the shop vendors will never ever sell them to us. And there's one more mind flare body to check that we couldn't do earlier, so I'm going to go down to the intellect devourers and at the start of the game. If I dip my weapon in the nearby fire and sneak attack one of them, I'm able to finish it off and my invisibility procs. I then back off a little bit, and when the other intellect devourer comes close to try and detect me, it will then end battle, and then I can quickly attack it again. This will easily finish off the last intellect devourer, and I'm able to check the nearby mind flayer for his loot. But unfortunately, I don't get lucky, and he doesn't have a potion of speed. Now it's time to go take on the Goblin camp. To start off, I'm going to go speak to Minthara, and after I finish speaking with her, I can use an improvised melee weapon, and with an elixir of hill giant strength, I'm able to drag her all the way out here. And then if I hit the escape key before the pathing ends, I'll just place her back on the ground without throwing her. I'm then going to pick her up again, and then if I path her all the way up to this spot, this time I'm going to let the pathing end so that I throw her on the ground, and then I'm able to actually shove her into this chasm here. I wanted to use this chasm because we can still retrieve her body later with telekinesis, so we can loot her. I should have dragged her a little bit further though, to this spot here that I'm now going to highlight for you, because I end up getting in combat with some nearby goblins. One of the goblin bosses is nearly able to kill us by throwing 2 acid vials at me. But when my turn comes back around, I just go invisible and then move out of the way. This was quite an unnecessary risk though, to be honest, because apart from just getting the extra tadpole from her, I didn't really need her boots of striding, and there's 70% chance to push her into the cavern. If I failed that, I probably would have been dead. The strategy of telling her that we're going to attack the grove and then waiting her to cross the bridge, entering turn-based mode, and then shooting the bridge out underneath her is far more consistent, but I wanted to try something else for this video. Close calls aside, I decided to take a rest back at camp, but Astarion had other plans, and to reward the viewers that are still here and didn't leave when I cut off Karlach's head, I let Astarion bite us.
How deep is your love? Is your love? How deep is your love?
Now that I've got your attention again, and hopefully your subscription, I had to long rest one more time to get rid of the debuff. And again, I got woken up in the middle of the night to a spat between Shadowheart and Lae'zel. Will someone please just let me bloody sleep? In the morning, I go speak to Dror Ragzlin, and I find him trying to speak to a dead mind flayer. Suck on what now? I don't think he's going to get much of an answer if he's speaking to him like that. When he's finally able to cast a spell, the dead mind flayer surprisingly gives him a weird answer. He tells him that 85% of the people that watch this video aren't subscribed, and that they should definitely do so if they haven't already.
Well, don't just stand there. Move!
After the dialogue is over, with an elixir of Hill Giant Strength, my bow of awareness for the +1 to initiative, I can use Dror Ragzlin as an improvised weapon and throw him into the nearby bridge. This will cause him to fall to his death, and even if I fail to roll, it won't get me into combat, so I can just try again. With Dror Ragzlin dead, I'm just going to drink a potion of invisibility and move out of the way. This will get me out of combat. I then went to the back of the room, swapped on some stealing gear, lockpicked the door, and then emptied the contents of the chest behind it. I then swapped on the invisibility ring, cast it, and walked around to the jail cell where Halsin is. With 2 turns of invisibility still left, I entered turn-based mode, swapped on my caustic band, and then got out the way to patrolling Goblin before leaving turn-based mode. I'm then going to sneak out behind the Goblin and attack it using an arrow of lightning. But the most surprising thing that happens is that 3 of the Goblins managed to roll initiative over me. I have a +4 to initiative, so that means I must have rolled pretty low myself. So I decided to duck into this room on the right just to be safe, and I moved this chair in the doorway just to block the path. The goblins would be able to break it if they attack it, but I'd rather they attack the chair than me. When Halsin's turn comes around, he's able to escape, and through the cutscene he kills one of the goblins, and then he kills one of the goblin children afterwards. The final kid goblin positioned himself right next to the goblin I attacked before, so I'm able to shoot an arrow of lightning at the other goblin and get a 2 for 1. This will stop the kids calling in the guards from outside, which makes the battle a lot easier for us. With my invisibility cape propped, I can then just move out of my last known location and end my turn. I'm not sure why, but the Beastmaster didn't move on his turn, but patch 8 has so many bugs that I can't really complain when one goes my way. The goblin isn't able to reach the cell to let the wargs out, so they can't do anything on their turn. Then Halsin moves in for the kill, and then Beastmaster finally moves, but he's still not able to reach the cell door either. On my turn, I don't have enough movement with click heals to get into a position where I feel safe, so instead I enter hide to keep my last known location to be where it was, and then I sneak in a little bit closer and end my turn. The goblin is finally able to reach the lever for the door, but not before taking a meaty opportunity attack from Halsin. They then manage to critically miss the huge bear standing right in front of them before moving towards me. The second warg is able to escape the cell and gets an attack off on Halsin, but then Halsin ignores it and goes for the goblin that's coming towards me. What a hero. The Beastmaster then summons in a spider companion. These can be pretty scary. Not only can they jump pretty far, but they also have a long ranged attack that does quite a bit of damage. And on top of that, they have a lot of initiative, managing to roll a 7. On my turn, I finished off the weakened butcher goblin, but it doesn't proc my visibility cape, probably because of called a weak. So I have to dip into this room on the right, and I block the doorway with the chair again. You can tell if you've done this right because if you try to hover over going outside, it will say cannot reach destination. The wargs move in to surround and attack Halsin, and he's able to get a massive hit off on the Beastmaster before his spider companion attacks him. The Beastmaster then gets a pretty decent hit back on Halsin, leaving him just below half health. On my turn, I'm able to finish off the weakened Beastmaster, and the fight from here should be pretty straightforward now with his spider companion gun. With Halsin rolling huge on his damage numbers and me finishing off the weakened wargs, there isn't really much left to this fight. I decided to come here first because of two reasons. One, I wanted to get the line breaker boots from the Beastmaster for later, and I also wanted to pick up the Warg Fang from the back of the cell where the wargs are being kept. This will give goblins disadvantage on attack rolls against us. Now it's time to take on the rest of the goblin camp. I drink 10 elixir of vigilance to make sure that we don't get out initiatived again, and I equipped the Titan string bow, but I forgot to equip my gloves too, so we're going to be using it without proficiency bonuses for a little while. I didn't really notice, but it didn't really make much of a difference actually. For some reason, this hallway was super dark on my return, but hopefully I've brightened it up in post. But all I did here is I dropped a candle on the floor and then dipped my bow in it before leaving the room. My goal here is to try and take out the goblin archers one by one. If I don't take out the first one and go invisible, I can back off to the door and reset the fight and keep going until we manage to get the one hit KO. But I'm able to take out the archer in one hit and I go invisible, so I move away out into the hallway and prepare to reset the fight again. The goblin archer unfortunately summons a warg, but I'm able to get back into turn-based mode while I'm still invisible, so I can sneak up close enough to get a sneak attack on the archer, finishing them off in one hit. This resets my invisibility, so I'm just going to move away from my last known location, and when the last archer goes to investigate, I'm going to quickly sneak attack while he goes back to his post, finishing him off in one hit again. With this area clear, I'm free to move into the rest of the camp. If I need to back off, I can always come back this way since I know all the goblins are dead. I don't want to take on any long drawn out fights while I'm inside the camp, and so I'm going to try to focus on doing quick assassinations and moving on from one goblin to the next. As always, my primary focus is always spellcasters and any ranged class people, because I can kite the melee classes a lot easier. So to start off, I'm going to attack the warlock in the main room. Most of the goblins get surprised, but a few of the other goblins from the other room get involved, so I'm just going to have to back off and reset the fight. I tried to get a 2-for-1 by killing Gribbo and getting my invisibility, but of course I missed. But she's a melee character, so I can just back off a little bit and try again next turn. But doing this does drag one of the goblins from Infara's room into the battle. Fortunately, they can't take their turn yet, so I'm safe for at least one turn, but it is kind of annoying. But I'm able to kill Gribbo on my next turn, so when my invisibility procs, I'm just going to back off and let the fight reset. With Gribbo dead, I decided now would be a good time to free Volo from his cage. Next up on my hit list is the wizard goblin, but for some reason this just aggroes the goblin in the room to the right, and then all the other goblins come to investigate, which means none of them are surprised. In retrospect, I probably should have just drank a potion of invisibility and moved away, but for some reason I decided just to back off. Only one of the ranger goblins is able to actually attack us, but if they were able to get through our disadvantage and roll near to max damage, they could have killed us there and then. When my turn comes back around, I tried to kill the archer that attacked me, but sod's law is that I roll a 1. But I don't take any chances this time. I'm just going to drink a potion of invisibility, then back off and reset the fight. I then take the time to quickly assassinate one of the remaining ranger goblins before backing off towards the jail cell. This makes it so the goblin boss is separated from the main group, so I quickly land a sneak attack on them to enter battle again. I'm then going to back off so I'm far enough away that they have to dash to get towards me, but not so close to the other group as that I aggro them again. Then on my next turn, I'm able to finish off the goblin boss. This is going to give me a lot more freedom of movement moving forward. I'm now able to assassinate all the goblins in the main room one by one without getting into combat. I'm also going to back off to make sure that I don't get seen by any goblins that come to investigate. Speaking of which, these goblins come to investigate, so I'm going to sneak attack Torturous Spike, taking him out instantly. The rest of the goblins are surprised, so I don't really need to worry too much about the rest of this combat. The other two goblins are too far away, and so when it comes back to me, I just attack the nearby goblin and then I'm going to back off a little bit to kite them towards me. When the goblin comes towards me, the other two actually fall out of combat, so I'm free just to finish this one off by himself. It's now that I realise that I wasn't wearing the correct gloves, so I wasn't being proficient with longbows, but it turns out that really it doesn't really make that much of a difference at level 1, since our proficiency bonus will only ever be +2, and we're able to get more than enough via buffs to overcome that. An extra 10% accuracy would be nice, but it's not the end of the world as I'm still landing my shots anyway. The final two goblins I'm able to take out without any issues. First I assassinate the one that's walking around, and the next one I take out from above by throwing down spears on him. The goblins in the middle room are pretty straightforward. I eliminate this goblin first because he has a smoke powder bomb, and then I pick off a few of the others one by one. One of the goblins does give me a bit of an issue because we keep missing, but as long as I kite them back and use click heals every turn, I'm not really in any danger and I can take my time to finally kill them. With the last remaining goblin going down in one hit, who also has a smoke powder bomb in their inventory. I'm able to assassinate the remaining enemies in Draw Ragson's boss room, managing to get a 2-for-1 with this shot, and the rest go down in one hit pretty easily. For the scrying guy in Minthara's room, I'm going to equip the headband of intellect and hit it with a thunder chromatic orb. The goblin boss gets stuck doing whatever this move is supposed to be, and while I am able to land my first hit, I miss my next few hits and I end up having to kite it all the way back to the rafters above the main room, where I'm able to finally finish it off with an arrow of fire. The last remaining goblin boss doesn't put up any fight at all, and I'm able to finish it off with 2 quick attacks outside of its line of sight. For the goblins guarding the front gate, I take out the archer on the left first, before then killing the archer on the right, and then the 2 warriors I can just kite back and kill them in combat one by one, before then sneaking up and finishing off the 2 sharp eyes, first going for the one on the left, and then when the one on the right comes to investigate, I quickly sneak attack it when it gets to the bottom of the ladder. Then, coming from the Blighted Village waypoint side, I can kill this sharp eye without getting into combat, and then if I sneak up to its position and throw an alchemist fire on this spot here, I can trigger the boulder trap, which demolishes most of the goblins' health points and their numbers. I'm then going to break my own invisibility by moving this bird's nest, before moving back towards the Blighted Village. The goblin and gnoll position themselves right next to each other, so I'm able to get a 2-for-1 with an acid arrow. I'm then going to break my own invisibility by dropping an item from my inventory on the floor and picking it back up again, and then move back across the bridge. My priority here is going to be the ranger, so I'm going to attack them first. This of course procs my invisibility, which I have to quickly break again, and then I'm just going to kite the remaining goblin up the hill before finishing him off. For these 3 goblins off to the left that are sitting down, I throw an alchemist fire to hit the 2 firewine barrels, but the ranger is able to make the save and live. But I'm just going to back off a little bit, and they're not even able to get close enough to detect me, so I can just finish him off on the next turn. Next up is going to be Crusher on the bridge. He has quite high AC, so he's a bit hard to hit, but as long as I kite him back, I can just keep shooting at him, and he can't get any hits off on us. And then finally, I'm going to move on to the last remaining goblins in the courtyard. I'm able to quickly kill the front 2 at the entrance before getting into combat with the rest of them. My goal here is going to be slightly different to the one that I used inside. Instead of trying to assassinate them all one by one, I'm actually going to be trying to kite them backwards and just pick them off as I can. My priority, like always, is going to be any ranged and spellcasters first of all, and I get really lucky when 2 of the rangers put themselves right next to the firewine barrel I was saving for them. There's not really a lot to mention here, other than the fact that the ogre will always seem to get stuck on this spot here, and to try to look for opportunities to use smoke powder bombs to take out as many as you can in one turn. You should be able to kill all of them minus the ogre before reaching Blighted Village, and as long as you're paying attention to make sure that you're never in range of any possible attack from the archers, you're pretty much safe. When the last goblin is dead, you're normally too far away from the ogre and it drops you out of combat. So I went back for the ogre, and I spent a few turns trying to get a cheeky arrow of roaring thunder kill by knocking him down into the water, but I wasn't able to. So instead I opted just to hit him with arrows over and over and over again. I do have to be wary of their throw stone ability, which has a 9-meter range, so after every shot I'm going to back off to make sure that they can't actually hit me, because it does hurt quite a bit. When the ogre is down, I'm going to sneak my way in to take out the warlock, and I totally forgot that this bugbear was just chilling here. We'll come back for him in a bit. I attack the warlock using an arrow of fire and barely miss out on a KO, and when I back off, the bugbear finally comes into the fight. Because this game hates me, when I tried to finish off the warlock, of course I'm going to roll a 1, so I have to back off off a little bit more. I was able to finish off the warlock on my next turn, and I decided to let combat end, so I stayed invisible and let the bugbear try to detect me. And when I sneaked my way back in, I was able to kill the bugbear in 2 hits before I even got into combat. I was then free to loot everything, most notably these grilled pieces of dwarf, because as Dark Urge I can store them and keep them for later when I need inspiration. Before I move on to Act 2 though, I have a few more things. First off are these gnolls. I should have drank an elixir of vigilance here, but I chose not to, and when I throw a smoke powder bomb in, 2 of the gnolls actually roll initiative over me. Fortunately though, they both miss their attacks and I'm able to survive, but this still poses some significant risks to the run. I need to make sure that I can position myself somewhere now where I can't actually be attacked. If I back off, surely enough they'll be able to hit me because I have the high ground. So instead, I decided to tuck in here and use the terrain to my advantage to break line of sight. And this spot works, as none of the gnolls are able to reach me and all of them have to dash on their turn. The 2 hunters are right next to each other, and I tried to kill them both with a smoke powder bomb, but I'm only able to finish off the one. So I use click heals and then I back off because I can get far enough away this time that they can't actually attack me. So on their turn, all the gnolls are going to dash towards me, and they all end up grouped up together, so I'm going to throw a smoke powder bomb at them again to get the most out of the turn, and I'm able to kill the darker gnoll and the hunter in the same turn here, which is great. The hunter was a massive threat, and the darker one can cast soul numbing on me, which would mean I can't use my bonus action. I'm then going to break my own invisibility by moving this little sack here, and then when the final gnoll comes close, I'm going to finish him off. I missed the attack on the patrolling hyena, and I'm only able to kill 2 of the hyenas before the gnolls come out. I am able to get off a bit of damage on one of the newborn gnolls though before we enter combat. The patrolling hyena has the highest initiative in the entire game, coming in at plus 15, so I'm just going to back off as far as I can because they also have a lot of movement when they dash. I'm able to kill the hyena on my next turn, and the newborn gnolls have this weird bug. They have a class action called Sudden Rush, which is their form of dash, but the turn after they'll always use the normal dash and then never move for some reason. They don't really put up much of a fight though, and as long as I keep my distance, a few turns later they die. I'm then going to take a short detour and go off towards the mountain pass. Here I'm going to speak to Lady Esther, who asked for a Githyanki egg, and I'm going to agree to help her because I need this for the boss later on in Act 3. I'm able to pass the persuasion check to get the money up front. Not that it really makes much of a difference, but it's fun to go for. I'm then going to bribe her for 400 gold, and then I'm going to buy the graceful cloth and get the rest of her gold off her as well, even though I already have about 10k gold in my inventory. I failed the strength check at the cable car wheel, even with advantage, but that just gives me an opportunity to show you how I get down there if I do fail. So it's now time that I introduce you to my little minesweeper. I mean, Scratch. Sorry best boy, but if you die the run still goes on. With the mine successfully cleared and Scratch living to tell the tale, I can then move all the way down towards the crash, making sure to grab this key on the way so I don't need to lockpick the door later. I prefer to go in through the back door of the crash, so instead of going through the monastery, I'm going to jump down here and then down here. And since I picked up the key earlier, I'm able to open the door no problems. Since I'm Githyanki, I'm able to tell the guards inside that I'm here to help with the Gake invasion, which grants me access to the rest of the crash without having to pass any dialogue checks. I'm then going to drop by the doctor's office and steal the 3 mind flayer parasites that are in there before quickly teleporting to the waypoint inside the crash. I'm then going to unlock the Psionic Overload Liquid Power, Ability Drain, and Psionic Backlash. I'm then going to teleport down into the Underdark because I have one more boss to take on before I'm ready for Act 2, and that is Bernard in the Arcane Tower. For this fight I'm going to need an Elixir of Vigilance, the Bow of Awareness, the Amulet of Misty Step, the Caustic Band, and the Crusher's Ring, and our Boots of Speed, as well as the Graceful Cloth that we brought earlier. To start the fight, I'm going to dash a few times before entering turn-based mode, and then opening up by attacking Bernard. I'm then going to descend down the elevator and position myself in the doorway. I did place the Sutter Flower here, but it didn't actually work for some reason, which is why I didn't mention it earlier. I know it doesn't actually work on Bernard, but it should work on his little robot friends, but it doesn't. And I'm not sure why, but regardless, the reason I didn't go any further than the door was because I want to bait the animated armors to come down the elevator too. If I go too far, instead of going down the elevator, the rangers will just stay at the top and they'll be able to shoot me from above. On my next turn, I'm going to dash and click heals and then position myself behind this wall here to break line of sight. And then when Bernard and his friends have moved in a little bit further, I can then position myself behind this wall instead. I have to be very careful with how far I go. Not only because I need to make sure that I'm safe from any oncoming attacks, but also if I go too far I might actually exit combat and then have to do this all over again. And now you'll see what I mean by the Sussurflower not really working, as I get incapacitated by it but then lose the condition immediately straight afterwards. I think it has something to do with me being too far away from the flower itself, because when I move further away on my next turn, the other one also loses its condition. I forgot that Bernard would be stunned on his next turn, so I can only move a little bit further away while I continue to kite them where I want them to be. My goal for the time being is to try to kite them towards the mushroom wall that I jumped up in a previous video. This is also the reason why I didn't activate the mushroom teleport to get down again, because that would give them a way to get up to me. So when I'm able to get close enough to the mushroom wall with them still close enough behind me, I'm going to teleport up onto this ledge here, and then on my next turn I can jump up on top of the cliff. I can now go over my strategies and reasons for why I'm up here in the first place. In honor mode, Bernard has a legendary action called Leaping Static. This does 3 to 24 lightning damage at a range of 18 meters, which just so happens to also be the same range as a longbow, and he'll use this whenever he's attacked, so I'm never ever safe to actually just attack him in a straight up fight. However, Bernard also has Static Overdrive. This gives him an aura around his body which would normally buff him and his allies, but we're going to use it to our advantage, because after 2 turns have passed, Bernard will be stunned for 1 turn, and when he's stunned he cannot use his legendary action at all. The only problem is that he has a very high AC, and from the distance we're at, we're going to be hitting him with disadvantage. So every other turn I'm going to have to hide to give me advantage, which will cancel out the disadvantage, so we can at least try to hit him. And whenever he's stunned from his aura ending, we're then going to take that opportunity to get some damage on him. This makes the fight a very long drawn out affair, but using this strategy, it is 100% consistent. I'll never be in danger of having to deal with his legendary action because he stuns himself every couple of turns, and I'll never be in any danger of his friends being able to attack us either because they cannot reach us. So when Bernard finally falls, all I have to do is finish off any nearby animated armors and the battle is over. With Bernard down, the only thing left to do is to head on to Act 2 and wave goodbye to Act 1 for now. We'll be back later when I'm more prepared to take on the rest of the bosses. If you've made it this far in the video, a big thank you from myself. Please can you leave a like, a comment, and maybe even subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be back in the next one and we'll be taking on Act 2. But until then, I'm going to leave you with the lovely Serenade by Alfira. We couldn't have made it this far without you, baby.
Dance upon the stars tonight, smile and pain will fade away. Words of mine will turn to ash when you call the last light down. Moon reminds me of your grace, all the love I can't repay. Rest and know that I will pray. Farewell, my dear old friend. Moon, sun, oh, remind me of your grace. Faith, care, all the love I can't repay. Moon, sun, oh, remind me of your grace. Faith, care, all the love I can't repay. Dance upon the stars tonight, smile and pain will fade away. Words of mine will turn to ash when you call the stars tonight.